Are you ready for this? Thousands of federal employees, dedicated public servants, suddenly out of a job. No warning, no real explanation, just a cold, impersonal letter or message. The Trump administration is making sweeping cuts to the federal workforce, and the fallout is going to be huge. Public services, veterans care, even the IRS, everything is potentially on the line. This isn't just about saving money. It's about fundamentally reshaping the role of government. But is it the right move? Is it even legal? Let's dive in and unpack this bombshell. Imagine showing up for work, 6 weeks into a new job, excited to serve your country, and then bam, you get a letter saying you're fired. No performance issues, no warnings, just gone. That's exactly what happened to a probationary employee at the USDA in Phoenix. He's not alone. Thousands of federal workers are facing the same fate, targeted because they haven't yet gained civil service protection. They're the easiest to fire, the low-hanging fruit. But these aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. These are real people with families, with mortgages, with a commitment to public service. How can we treat our public servants like this? These layoffs are specifically targeting probationary workers, those who have been employed by the federal government for less than 1 or 2 years. This means they haven't yet gained the full protections of civil service. The Trump administration, under the influence of the newly established Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, led by Elon Musk, is pushing agencies to let these employees go. Musk has even suggested that entire agencies should be deleted, comparing them to weeds in need of eradication. But is this really about efficiency, or is it about dismantling the federal workforce and reducing its capacity to serve the public? This is where things get really controversial. Let's talk about DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. Run by Elon Musk, its mission is to streamline government operations. Now, on the surface, that sounds great. Who doesn't want a more efficient government? But Musk's approach is raising serious concerns. He's talking about deleting entire agencies, comparing them to weeds. Legal experts and union representatives are questioning the legality of DOGE's actions. Is this a legitimate effort to improve government, or is it a radical agenda to shrink the federal workforce and weaken its ability to serve the public? This is a question we need to be asking. The Department of Veterans Affairs, an agency that provides crucial services and benefits to our military veterans, laid off more than 1,000 employees in a single day. The VA claims this will save the department $98 million per year. But at what cost? These layoffs are going to impact the services and support that our veterans rely on. One HR manager at the Veterans Health Administration, who has worked for the department for over 2 decades, said he had never witnessed anything like this. "It's the worst I've ever seen," he said. "This is a direct hit to those who have served our country, and it's simply unacceptable. It's like the government is biting the hand that feeds it." This HR manager, a self-described Republican who voted for Trump in the last 3 presidential elections, is now reconsidering his political allegiance. He says he will never make that mistake again and will vote Democrat in the midterms and the next presidential race. This speaks volumes. These layoffs are not just affecting the employees themselves. They're alienating longtime supporters of the Republican Party. When even staunch conservatives are questioning the administration's actions, you know something is seriously wrong. This is a political earthquake in the making. Before these mass layoffs, the Trump administration offered federal employees a buyout, a chance to leave their jobs with the promise of continuing to be paid through September. The White House claims that 77,000 workers, or around 3% of the civilian workforce, accepted the offer, but many federal workers declined, worried about its validity. The buyouts are technically not funded, as Congress hasn't appropriated funding beyond March 14th. There are serious questions about the legality of it all. It's like a poorly written contract with loopholes and hidden clauses. Nobody trusts it, and for good reason. The American Federation of Government Employees, or AFG, which represents many of those dismissed, has vowed to challenge the firings in court, calling them a violation of workers' rights. AFG President Everett Kelly argues that these firings are not about poor performance, but about power and gutting the federal government. He accuses the administration of silencing workers and forcing agencies into submission to a radical agenda that prioritizes cronyism over competence. This is a full-blown legal battle brewing, and the stakes are incredibly high. The uncertainty surrounding these layoffs is taking a toll on federal employee morale. People are nervous, they don't know what's going on with their jobs, and even senior leadership at most of the agencies doesn't know what's going on. It's creating a climate of fear and distrust. This is not how you build a strong and effective workforce. When employees are constantly worried about losing their jobs, they can't focus on serving the public. It's a recipe for disaster. Federal workers typically have the option to appeal layoffs or suspensions to the Merit Systems Protection Board, a process that involves an initial review by administrative judges before a final decision is made by the board itself. However, many workers fear that these legal avenues may not be enough to protect their rights in the face of an administration determined to impose sweeping changes. It's like trying to fight a tidal wave with a bucket. The odds are stacked against them. Elizabeth Aniskevich, an attorney with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, received a non-personalized email informing her she had been removed from her position. The letter cited probationary regulations and stated she was being let go because her ability and skills do not fit the agency's needs. That is brutal. It is a copy-slash-paste mass firing that takes nothing into account of the people, the human cost. It is no way to treat someone who has dedicated their career to public service. 5 unions for government employees have sued Trump and other officials in his administration over the firing of probationary workers, alleging the move is illegal because it violates procedures for making reductions in force, a formal process used by government agencies to dismiss employees. Reductions in force, or RIFs, can be made based on a number of issues, such as if there's not enough work or funding for federal workers, according to OPM. Trump's order directs agencies to promptly engage in RIFs for none of the specified, allowable reasons, but instead for the purpose of eliminating waste, bloat, and insularity. The lawsuit claims, citing the president's February 11th executive order for widespread layoffs of government workers. This is a key legal argument that could determine the fate of these layoffs. The VA employee who was fired said he took exception to Trump's claim that the terminations would make the government more efficient, noting that his group, which had been trying to fill several empty positions, had more work than they could handle. "We are under-resourced as it is, so cutting jobs won't do it," he said, adding that the firings will directly impact veterans. "We have ongoing projects to try to construct and repair facilities to help veterans. We're already behind." This is a clear example of how these layoffs are hurting the very people they are supposed to be helping. It is a tragic irony. A Food and Drug Administration employee expressed concern that the firings would slow essential work, both because of the loss of skilled employees and a hit to employee morale. "We're rather leanly staffed. The people on some of these teams have a tremendous workload," she said. "It'll slow down things like drugs approvals. It'll have a tremendous, terrible impact on access to drugs and generic drugs. This is not just about government bureaucracy. This is about public health and safety. These layoffs could have serious consequences for all of us." Elizabeth Linos, the Emma Bloomberg Associate Professor of Public Policy and Management at Harvard's Kennedy School, points out that because many of the probationary workers are younger employees, the firings could add to long-term problems facing the federal workforce, where twice as many workers are over age 60 than under 30. This will exacerbate the existing human capital crisis if probationary employees are more likely to be young and more likely to have the skills that a 21st-century government operation needs, she said. This is a short-sighted move that could have long-term consequences for the federal workforce. We are losing valuable talent and experience at a time when we need it most. These mass layoffs of federal workers are not just about saving money or streamlining government. They represent a fundamental shift in the role and function of government. They have the potential to impact public services, veteran care, and even public health, and they are alienating longtime supporters of the Republican Party. The political fallout from this could be significant. Are these layoffs a necessary step towards a more efficient government, or are they a reckless attack on the federal workforce? The answer to that question will determine the future of our government and the lives of millions of Americans. So, what's next? The legal battles will continue, and the impact of these layoffs will become more apparent in the coming months. Will these cuts lead to a more efficient government, or will they cripple essential services? Will this alienate voters and shift the political landscape? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. This is a story that's far from over. I want to know what you think. Are these layoffs justified? What are the consequences? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth analysis of the latest news and trends. And stay tuned, because we'll be following this story closely.